hello, everyone. Good day, good morning, good afternoon, evening. I hope that you can hear me because I'm kind of glitching on my end. But welcome to episode 44 of A Girl Like Me Live. And I'm so excited to be here again, run that back with Bridget again, because our last session was so great. And that one was on, what was that, finding reliable information in the age of misinformation and all. And we got so many great comments from that. And there was definitely a conversation that community enjoyed. And we're here today talking about aging positively, planning for a fulfilling future. So excited, Bridget, and now we just going to jump right on in here. So I love that we was talking a little bit before this episode started, talking about planning for this fulfilling future, which right now seems so hard for me. I'm just trying to make it through today. And I can't imagine folks that have, a few more years on them, how we are making it through these times, like thinking about the present time and thinking about how we are going to live that fulfilling future out. Um, as a woman living with HIV, like even I was trying to talk or think through retirement stuff. I Googled, I used it. Google. Now, like looking at life expectancies, like trying to look at what I've experienced in my family, like when how long my grandparents made it and all. Like, so if I retire at this age, maybe I'll live to this age. Does HIV even impact that? And when do I have to have all my ducks in a row? And it seems like that's supposed to start right now. And I just was wondering if anybody else had any tips on what we supposed
Child.
to do.
So there's a couple things that you said. Number one is we know that life expectancy with HIV is getting longer. It's evening out and becoming closer to a person who's not living with HIV, right? So that's number one. And so um, planning right now, you are absolutely correct, is overwhelming because there's been so just in the last 2 years, not calling out any names or any entities, but just in the last 2 years, the number of changes that we've had to face regarding things like affordability, right? And um, insurance woes and what that's going to look like. And the stock market, yes, is doing well. That's fantastic for people who have the ability to invest in stocks, or who were able to do that. But for the average person, that don't mean nothing, because we don't have access to those things. And so planning for what our future is going to look like is wild. I'm a little older than you, cough, cough a little bit. And I'm completely unprepared for what's coming. And really, you said, am I supposed to start thinking about that now? Really, you're supposed to start thinking about that in your 20s and your 30s. And if you don't, you're already behind the eight ball. So yeah, it's a lot to consider and a lot to think about. I think one of the first things that people need to do and tackle is understand what your needs are or what you think they might be. What is it that you want to plan for, and what does that look like? Um, and for those of us with chronic health conditions, because HIV falls under chronic health condition categories, it's not just about the financial piece of it, it's also about the health piece of it and what does our chronic health condition mean for us in the future. So yeah, we got work to do.
And then to think how all of those things are interconnected. Like you I used to work in the welfare office in the past, and like to see how many older individuals who would qualify, if they didn't own that house or they didn't own those vehicles. It's like, dang, so you gotta sort of balance that, because I'm going to need access to health care later on in life so that I continue to stay healthy and well. But does that my assets at that point may be too much, or they may, it's like straddling it. Ooh, the expense that I even find myself straddling now, like, okay, I don't qualify for these programs, but I could utilize the help from these programs. But and so what that tango it is something else. And I'm in my late 30s now, and my body is already starting to, do things differently. That knee of mine just won't act like it's 16 anymore. It's doing other things. I'm like, oh, is this the beginning of what all else is to come? And then the thing that,
Yes, it is. I can tell you right now. I have one too many hot girl summers, and my knee is now telling me that them hot girl summers, I'm paying for them right now. So absolutely, yes, that is it's a strong indication of what's to come, friend. Just telling you.
well, that's great. I'm like, whoa, and you already experiencing those changes, and I feel like I'm just sort of handling, like getting a hold on to adulthood, and now y'all talking about the future. Hold on, I got kids to raise, parents to get in line with.
Multi generations, right? Like it's not just us anymore. It's kids, it's parents. In my case, it's my grandchild, right? So when you were talking about assets and what we can qualify for, it is really a shame that for so many programs, they basically want you to be destitute before they'll help you, right? Like, what do you mean I can't have a car and qualify for benefits? What good do the benefits do me if I'm stuck at home and I can't get to my doctor's appointments, or I have to worry about public transportation, which may not be reliable in the area that I live in? What do you mean if I have a savings account, I have to deplete my savings before you'll give me, you know, food stamps or support, right? So all of these little factors that um, go into qualifying for help that we should be entitled to, um, you know, it can't be said enough that healthcare should be universal. We were talking a little bit before, and I was being sarcastic about having a trillionaire in our midst. There's no reason that one person has that much wealth when we don't have basic childcare for free and basic health care for free. Um, and so those are the kinds of things that are they're extremely frustrating, but those are the things that we need to look at and examine for how we're going to be able to age well, right? And so practically, it means kind of taking stock of what your social support needs are. Are you a person who is an only child and now your parents are gone? Who do you lean on and depend on when you get older? Are you, part of our LGBTQ IA? I love all of the letters. Family where you have chosen family, right? Because you're not in contact with your birth family. What does that look like? If you are a person who has been living with HIV for a long time and you fall into one of those categories, the community around you and the community that you build is even more critical because you need people to lean on. None of us were meant to be alone in this earth, on this earth. And so we need those social supports and that network in order to be able to help us as we age. And the other thing I think that many of us have, Black women in particular, but folks with chronic conditions, is we have this pride that is like this big bubble around us that prevents us from asking for help when we need it or knowing how to ask for help. And so those are the other things that we really need to think about is, you know, support is not a bad thing. Needing support is not a bad thing. Um, Asking for it is the key and what we really need to do. And that's I think the first couple of steps to figuring out what it's going to look like in the future. There are, I would say that the top things that folks need to start thinking about right now are, like you mentioned, your finances, right? what kind of do you have a 401k? Do you have um, CDs? Do you have an IRA? Like, what kind of money are you putting away for your future? Because um, Social Security is not guaranteed. It should be, but it's not. What does your family structure look like? Do you have life insurance? Do you have a will, power of attorney? Who's going to make your medical decisions for you if you become incapacitated and can't do that? All of it feels very, very overwhelming. But if you start thinking about it now and start planning for it now, not when you're 50, not when you're 60, not when you're 65. These are things that we need to plan for starting right now. I don't care if you're 22 or 21. Like, these are the times to start at least having that in your head and thinking about that moving forward, and letting your family know what your wants, needs, and desires are, so that folks are not put in a position of having to make decisions for you, um, that they nobody the best example I can use is myself, right? I took care of my mother the last year before she passed away. And my mother got sick very suddenly, landed in the hospital very suddenly. The things that I knew. Like my mother used to say all the time, and it still amuses me. My mother used to say that if we buried her in the ground, she was going to come back and haunt us, right? And she said if we burned her, like she did not want to be cremated. If we cremated her, she was definitely going to come back and haunt us. She wanted to be in a mausoleum. That's not cheap, right? So what do I do for that? Like all of a sudden I was having to make those decisions and those choices. I knew my mother didn't want to be on a ventilator. I knew my mother, right? So I knew all of these things because whether she said it jokingly or in passing, she said these things to me. And so making those decisions, while difficult in the moment because I was caught up in all of the emotions of losing my mom, it was still a little bit easier because I knew what she wanted. And so that's what I'm saying about making sure that your family knows what you want. You have to discuss the hard topics and talk about the hard things. Otherwise, people don't know.
I was having a similar conversation with my mother the other day, like just, randomly, Mom, what color do you want to be buried in? who who's supposed to be at this thing? Because you're gonna leave me making all these decisions, and it might not be exactly what you want. And so while there's not anything pressing going on right now, just took it as a moment to have that conversation because I know I'm not gonna be no good in the moment, and if we could just get stuff ironed out. So it has me thinking about my own life because I learned so much from the people that come before me. So I appreciate that. I was even looking at the menopause conversation. So many people are talking about menopause now. It seems like way more than what I've ever heard before. And I just don't know if the
Agree.
people right before me are more vocal about it. So now it's something that I'm looking into, something that I'm expecting, things I'm looking out for. And I do that with all things. Thank you all for being so vocal. Because now it's like, okay, talking to older people, what are the things that they wish that they would have gotten into line sooner? While I know I still have time, God willing. The What I can do best is to help my children, get onto a path right now. So sort of passing those things down and hoping that it latches a little sooner than, the 40s, because I know that that's going to be it could be an issue later on. I don't see me hitting the lottery anytime soon because I don't even pay it. But being able to take any portion out of what I anything, my mental capacity, the mental cost, my financial to put into future, it just seems very hard right now. And so sharing
Yeah.
these strategies and seeing that I'm not the only one in the position that that multi generational piece that gets brought up so often, that household of navigating all of these things. We talked in past episodes. It's
Hmm.
a lot going on. So now y'all
Yeah.
want me to do another thing, plan for my
Yep.
future. Cool.
Yeah. There used to be a time when your parents worked a good job, right? Let's say for the federal government for 40 years, and then they retired and they had a life insurance policy, right? So when your parents died, you knew you were going to have this life insurance policy you could draw from. You were going to bury your parents with that. And then maybe you had a little bit extra, for whatever, or they left you a little cushion. We don't have that kind of job security anymore. We don't have companies that have been, you know, in where we're working in perpetuity, right? Like my mother retired from the phone company. My father retired from the gas company. I used to work for the phone company. I thought I would retire from there, right? And have these things in place for my children, for my child, my one child. But that didn't happen. And it's happening less and less. There are Black women were the most impacted demographic by all of the cuts at the federal level, because traditionally those were jobs that Black folks went into because we could, right? They had rules against discrimination, against not hiring Black folks. So we were able to get into those positions, right? And those were considered secure jobs. Teaching used to be considered a secure job. Teachers don't make nothing, right? And so all of those things are shifting. And I don't think that our mentality in general is shifting fast enough to keep up with that. And I don't think that our understanding of how things are changing is keeping pace with our needs, right? Multi-generational used to be your your parents moved in with you when they couldn't function anymore, right? But now it means not only are you taking care of your parents, but you're taking care of your children and maybe your children's children. For many people, that's a reality. Um, I'm taking care of my grandson right now. Not something I anticipated doing at over 50. I thought I was not necessarily traveling the world because I didn't like to fly for a long time. But I didn't anticipate being a full-time parent at this age. And so now more than ever, it is what am I planning for? How do I set myself up in such a way that doesn't have to worry about, he has to worry less about how he's going to take care of me when I'm unable to take care of myself. So that's what you were talking about, setting your kids up, right? And so one of the ways in which people can think about, because I want to make sure that we give practical things that people can do. There's something called long-term care insurance. It varies from state to state. It can be a little tricky, so people have to, not you should, you have to do your research when it comes to signing up for a long-term care insurance plan. But that is one of the ways in which you can plan for when you can't take care of yourself. And so what it looks like is either you're paying a monthly premium towards it. Sometimes they have, if you are a person who owns a home, you can um, pay for it against your home, right? So there's a bunch of different ways that it happens. But for people who are single, who don't have a good, strong family network, that may be something really to look at and really to think about doing. Um, and then the other thing is, I think really you have to decide how you want to age. Do you want to age in place? Meaning, do you want to age in your home? If that's the case, then you need to set yourself up in such a way that you can age in your home. So, me, again, as an example, I'm over 50. I would love to be able to age in place. Theoretically, if I stayed where I'm living right now, I would have an issue because I live upstairs, right? So, at some point between now and the next 10 years, I need to start thinking about moving into a place that's downstairs so that I don't have to navigate stairs up and down. If you are a person who wants to age amongst community, so maybe you're looking at an assisted living place, start doing your research now, right? Because there's different levels of assisted living. There are different facilities that you can go to. Sometimes, depending on where you live, there may be like community living where you are not necessarily in a home, but you live in a community where people have decided they're going to, like a co-op, like they're going to exchange services for goods, and each one looks out for the other. There are all of these little tiny home villages that are coming up all over all over the country. So whatever your space is that makes you feel settled in your spirit about how you want to age, it's time to start thinking about it. And it's time to start looking into that. Um, for women whom isolation becomes a bigger issue as we age, especially with a chronic condition like HIV, what is community going to look like? If you don't have friends now, you need to start making some, because it's gonna need to be you and your old biddies sitting around playing cards, taking care of each other, right? So um I guess the biggest takeaway is don't let it get away from you. It's time right now. It's time right now.
And I love that the community part of it. And I think that I've experienced over the past few years how my community is growing. So it's not just HIV community. There are other spaces where I'm finding that folks relate to what I'm going through. And so whether that's the diabetes community or mental health or whatever it is, and realizing that I need these different communities for what I may be experiencing at different times in my life. Um, and like neighbors even can be considered community sometime. I have a family member who just needed help getting the groceries inside the house. It's like, oh, I'm pulling on my community, my physical community to help me do that, because I can't imagine at this point in my life like not being able to carry my groceries in the house. But that could be a real thing one day. I watched another family member, um, because you was talking about having to go to the second floor. Her home was, built like that, and watching her struggle to be able to get up the steps at some point, and now we have to change the whole entire way of, this home that I've been in for the last 50 years. Uh, so if she had put a little bit more thought into that earlier on, I'm sure that she wouldn't have allowed herself to end up to where she couldn't get to the second floor of her home. Um, I'm grateful that they was able to work out to where we got something flat, and it allowed her to keep more of her independence longer. She no longer needed anybody to go downstairs and make her food because she was able to access that.
Yeah.
Olivia, I saw your comment. I decided I want to live in a fun communal situation with my friends when I'm old, so I'm trying to figure out what to do now to make it happen. I take care of my 99-year-old dad, and I feel like he would benefit from some like-minded roomies. Oh, that's cool. But-
Yeah.
Okay.
I have it somewhere in my head that I want to live in like a boarding home, where there's people in and out all of the time. And so I have my own room and my own space, but we can, meet in the dining room. And there's some young folks coming through that can help keep me young. And, all of those types of things. And there's different ways that people want to do that, and different resources that people have in order to be able to do that. I noticed that Maria said Latinos too, when I was talking, saying, about Black women and Black folks. And it's true. Our communities very much mirror each other, in a lot of ways. There's definitely distinct differences, but the Hispanic, Latino, Latine, um, that community has generational living, and generational households down to a T. And there's lessons that we can learn from that community, about what that structure looks like. Um, I think that um, it becomes necessary for us to relearn and unlearn some things as we get older, being stubborn about particular things. Like the thing that comes to mind is mental health, because you mentioned mental health. Black folks are pray it off. We gonna pray it off. We gonna go to church. That's just the devil. Well, no, depression and anxiety are much more than that. And if you suffer with depression and anxiety right now in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, and you don't address it, you're gonna carry that into your 60s, 70s, and 80s. And genuinely, you may not make it to your 60s, 70s, and 80s if you don't address issues like that, right? And so we have to tackle the mental health piece of it. We have to get control of where we are mentally, because how you feel mentally impacts your body and how your body feels and how you're able to exist and move in your body and function in your body. That impacts aging. That impacts health in the long run. And so it almost is overwhelming the number of things that we need to worry about and think about when it comes to aging in a healthy way or getting older in a healthy way. But it's not impossible. Hard is never impossible. um, it just means we need to plan for it and really think about it. um, and it's I also think it's not something that we should ever do alone. I think conversations like these are really important because it gives people the idea to look at something from a different angle or think about something that they hadn't thought about before. And so, just like with the menopause thing and us talking about it more and knowing, more and more people are understanding what to look out for, it's the same thing with preparing for aging well, getting older well in a way that you can feel good about, in a way that you can feel um, prepared for.
I would, helping with my parents and navigating, Medicare and insurance and all of this. I've seen where some of their peers utilize a lot of those resources that come. I see some who have social workers or case managers who will come to the house and talk them through things, insurance brokers who will talk them through, because that end of the year, beginning of the year shuffle, I guess what it starts in like October, November, where you got to pick your new insurance for next year, and everything might not be covered next year, which was being covered. Like having somebody to talk me through, to talk them through, has been helpful. And we didn't even know for us that that was a free service that was being offered until we heard about it through somebody else. So this lady makes sure she comes down, she checks in on them, she makes sure that they're utilizing all of the benefits that come with all of their insurance. And I'm so grateful for that, because for me it's overwhelming. I don't even know what half of this stuff means that I'm looking at, the different doctors that they have to visit, and why we're going to this doctor, and the medication. It seems like one of them could say a medication is like, oh, I'm on it too, and I've never heard of that medication in my life. So I've definitely noticed for them being around other people who are in the same stage of life as them has been helpful, not only for them but for me. My grandma, she used to do something, silver sneakers or something like that. It was a workout class that she would go to. I know that was more community and support for her, and it was also keeping her active a couple days a week. So seeing those types of things, I know where we live, SEPTA is our transportation, our public transportation, but they have a division dedicated to assisting people to make it throughout the city, whether that is to go to a doctor's appointment, to go shopping, or just to go get some community, just to be out in community. They will come and pick you up. The fare is lower than what a normal ride would be. You call and make an appointment. It sounds so easy saying it like this, but then the practical side of it, sometimes you got to sit on the phone for a long time and like have the patience that you may not have developed in your 30s to now sit on the phone and make this appointment. Or making the multiple appointments You already got the medical side of it down. Now I need to get the transportation part down. So I could understand how it can be overwhelming and having that community of folks. Maybe you do just have one person. You've made the medical appointment. Now you need transportation. You can lean on this person and call and get your transportation set up, or call this person so they can make sure that you make it there. Definitely, a village I could see can be important across the lifespan, living with HIV or not.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was talking to a friend of mine who's slightly older than I am. And I was walking her through how to do something on her phone. And she was like, Bridgette, I don't know how you know how to do all of this stuff. Like, I don't have the patience and I don't want to learn. And that is where people are going to get trapped in stuff. That's one of those things I was talking about being stubborn about. You have to be able to um, find the patience that you didn't get in your 30s to stick with things and learn new things. That is the only way that we're going to be able to get ahead. Olivia's comment, she said, oh my gosh, help. I stay overwhelmed with all of this. That person with deep knowledge of what's available for elders on many levels is so huge. It is. And that is where, if you are someone who's taking care of an elder, um, you have to be able to step outside your comfort zone and ask those questions. So calling places like Scan, which is, or what's the other one I keep getting all of the flyers for that pisses me off? AARP. Like I get them flyers and I'm like, who do you think I am? I am. And then I remember, oh, girl, you over 50. Yeah, that is time. But, being able to call those places and just ask, this is what my issue is. What are some resources? They have that. Um, being able to, so I was talking about power of attorney earlier. You can have a power of attorney over your medical wishes. So one person that is able to make your medical decisions, and then you can have another person that's power of attorney over your financial stuff. It can be the same person, or it could be two different people. And that's kind of what you were talking about. You need to be able to approach the rest of your living that way, right? So maybe, like you said, I have one person that I can talk to about how to help me get transportation. And then there's another person that I can talk to about my medical questions. And then maybe there's somebody else that I go to my silver slippers with. Olivia said her dad was going to his workout class, right? So maybe there's the person. It's okay to have a network. I think the biggest thing is to make sure that your network is working for you. It's a network, it's a net under you. Think of it as a safety net and take advantage of all of the opportunities that you have in order to move things forward. And also, each one to each one. When you learn something, even if you think everybody in your circle already knows, there's probably one person that doesn't, or two people that don't. Share it out. Um, Teresa, or is it
Sarah?
Tersha? We see you, girl. Support groups are needed. I can't believe that I feel alone in 2026. I can believe it. I can believe it. Because as a woman living with HIV, sometimes I'm in, excuse me, a room full of people and feel alone, right? I think that people think that social media keeps us connected, and in a lot of ways, it actually isolates us even more. Because with social media, we feel like we don't have to have that in the same room contact, that physical contact. And that's not true. We need it more than ever, especially right now in 2026. We've been through thing after thing after thing. It was COVID, the isolation of COVID, trying to recover from the isolation of COVID, all of the stuff that we're doing right now with this administration and the craziness with that. Um, Finding a community is so very, very, very important. And it's also so very, very hard to do sometimes. If you are a shy person, a person who doesn't make friends easily, a person who doesn't trust easily, all of those things can make finding support and finding your tribe that much more difficult. And that's why, you know, organizations like us, like the Wall Project, is so important because we have the ability to connect community to other community. Um, Getting seniors involved with their local senior center is so important. And one of the things that people don't think about that I want to put out there is that if you don't have a senior center in your area, I guarantee you that the churches um, and religious spaces in your community offer something for seniors. And even if that is not your religious affiliation, they will welcome you in most cases for you to be able to set up that support. So if you live in a community that's predominantly Jewish, go to your local Jewish faith center and it hey, this is not the religion I grew up in, but I'm looking for community. Can you help me? I'm Jewish. Let me go to my local Catholic church, right? Um, when I said Catholic church, it triggered me to think about charities. As we get older, maybe we need a little extra help, right? Social Security only covers so much, and we don't have enough groceries to get to the end of the month, or we have too much month at the end and not enough dollars to make it there. Catholic charities, Jewish charities, those are places that have programs that are set up specifically to help you out in those cases. Maybe they give you groceries. Maybe they help you pay your light bill so that you can take that money that you would normally spend on your light bill to be able to buy groceries, right? All of those are pieces of the network that I'm talking about that we have to learn how to seek out um, and ask for support so that we don't feel, like she said, alone in 2026.
I used to drop my grandfather off at an adult daycare, and I don't like the like infant make it seem like baby five, but that's what they called it, was a senior daycare. And to be able to drop him off every morning, they fed him like breakfast and lunch. They played pool and cards and had movie days. Like I really enjoyed that, to know that a few hours out the day that he was somewhere with his peers, somewhere that like people not maybe not overwhelming him with too much. He had the freedom to do what he needed to, and to know that I had eyes on him, that if anything happened, that there would be someone that would be able to get him help. That for the caretaker, that was helpful. I'm like, oh, now I'm seeing my options when I get older. Okay, this is a thing now. Who would be with me at night when I might need help? And I've watched other people navigating the community by getting like caretakers, people that sometimes are paid, sometimes unpaid, to just be able to sit there with you, make sure that your laundry is done. If you need assistance while you're out shopping, and I always am good for asking a question, whether this is where I'm supposed to be asking this question or not, because I know that I can get closer to where I'm trying to. So maybe my doctor, because I know my doctor has a case manager that will come in and talk to me depending on what I say. So I'll start with the doctor. These are the things that I need. Do you know where I could go? And maybe they'll link me to a resource. Hey, I might call and the number is out of service because I live in a place where the resources, we need more of them. But I know now that this is the type of entity that I need to be looking for, and it puts me on a track closer to where I'm trying to be. Because this can be a lot to make it through alone. And I know I don't know every resource that is available. I I know of some, but not all of them, and I know my needs are going to change as time progresses on. Um, yes, so much. I saw a comment come up from Krista, no, Olivia and then Krista. I didn't see that one.
Mhm.
My mother-in-law too. Adult hangout time was a lifesaver when we were caring for her. I just felt my heart lighten, even thinking about those drop-off moments. Sometimes
Critically
my
important for more than one
lost.
reason. Sorry. It's not just important for the socialization of the adult, but we need respite. When we are busy taking care of everybody and a household and work and all of the things, we need respite. We need to be able to take a breath and sit still for a second. And if that means taking the kid to camp or taking the adult that you're taking care of, right? The parent that you're parenting to camp, or to hang out with their friends. I don't love adult daycare either. Um, I like to think of it as, adult socialization, but taking them to those places makes all of the difference in the world for you as well, because it gives you a second to breathe, right? You don't have to worry about whether or not they're safe, and you can take the time either to catch up on things or to breathe. I recommend breathing, rather than using that time to like rush to do a bunch of other things. But yeah, it's important for that as well. And then you were going to say Krista's comment, I think, too.
She was saying there's more and more information about virtual villages for aging. And I recently saw an article, but can't find it, about friends investing in buying homes near each other for physical villages as well, similar to Olivia's story. That's
Hmm.
cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
that's what I was talking about for the community thing. Yeah. And then the virtual village piece. I'm in a virtual village for people living with HIV. There's over 500 members, and they're from all over the place. There's some from other states, other countries, and it is just a gathering place where you can toss your thoughts in and have other people respond to them, or ask a medical question or a medication question and have people give their thoughts and opinions on it. So virtual villages are another way to stay connected, and not feel quite so lonely. But I absolutely love the idea of a communal environment, neighborhood, where we're taking care of each other. Even if we're not seniors, right? I would love something like that for somebody my age, because it's overwhelming. And you need to be able to connect with people, just to feel seen, um, and to feel not so alone.
So, I'm a checklist type of person. And I'm like trying to keep it all together in my head right now. We done named so many things that like I would like to explore for myself and for my parents during this conversation. Like, okay, power of attorney, which that has come up a few times. And I have a parent that lives in the county of Philadelphia and then a parent that lives outside of Philadelphia. The resources, just 5 minutes apart, look so different for one another. For the parent that's living in Philadelphia, there are clinics that like legal aid and things will hold specifically to help the older individuals get their power of attorney and their durable health, whatever, in order. And they'll do that free of charge. A church was hosting it a couple weeks ago. You just come down with all of your paperwork. You got to meet some other qualifications, but they'll get that paperwork out of the way. Because I tried to do that for the other parent. There is no resource in the county that will do it for free. And when we went through a lawyer, they were trying to charge like $400 a piece. So now that leaves it on me to look for more resources that can possibly get that done for folks that don't have the income to pay $400 to get my affairs in order.
Yeah, so that's when you turn to your online resources. That's when you turn to doing searches, for free legal aid. Sometimes you can find, folks who are in school to become an attorney, or in school for, whatever aspect of legal stuff that they want to go into, that they'll take on your stuff just to be able to get the experience doing it. But that is doing your due diligence and doing your searches, and then also asking for the help that you need. Resources do vary, from state to state, and even from county to county, like you're talking about. And so it can be very frustrating and exhausting. It goes back to what we say all the time in the HIV community about advocacy. Alexa, stop. Sorry. Alexa, stop. Sorry. Child is technology. Um, but it goes back to what we talk about in the HIV community all of the time about how exhausting it is to have to constantly advocate for yourself. But self advocacy is never going to go away. And self advocacy in the moment builds better long term outcomes. So, um, frustration in the moment, or less frustration in the long run. So that's something definitely to consider. And then remembering that in all things, not just in healthcare, we are our own best advocate. We're our own best advocate in our healthcare for where we want to live, for how we want to eat, for who we want to socialize with. Not every adult daycares are not for everyone. The senior center is not for everyone. Some people don't want to socialize like that, but we need some sort of socialization. We need some sort of community. So if the senior center is not where you want to go, take your butt to the park, take your butt to the library, go sit and volunteer at a hospital, or even go volunteer at an assisted living facility where there are other folks your age. So you're still doing something where you feel useful and not that you're being shuffled off someplace, but you're also benefiting the folks that you're volunteering and helping with, right? There's always options and angles to look at stuff. You just have to figure out what your angle is and advocate for what the angle that works for you.
So much to consider. And I, like, as a woman living with HIV, thank you for the reassurance at the beginning that our life expectancy is starting to, you know, looking longer because of the medication and the treatment that we have available today. Um, like that, I really personally don't want to live to be 100. I'm
I don't
trying.
either, unless I'm spry and still kicking and giving people hell. I don't either.
So, you know, thinking how I'm going to get, and I always try to like sympathize or empathize, put myself in other shoes, thinking, dang, I know that I can work now, I'm able bodied to work now, but for any reason that could go away. Like at any moment, there could be a tragedy that happens and I'm no longer able to. And would I be prepared, at this point and where I'm at to continue that life expectancy all the way out? I appreciate the strategies to be able to try to get closer to there outside of even the finance parts of it. Think about the type of, I never thought about a community. I never thought about living around other folks. I've seen it happen where it's already structured, like living in a apartment building where everyone in that apartment building is aging, and then they might have, a community room downstairs. But building that on my own. Thank you all for introducing that into my scope of thinking because never thought about it. Um, then the other life changes that that eventually come, planning for no longer having kids in the house or being responsible for those children, or one day a spouse may pass away, and where I thought that we were going to age together, now I'm here on my own. And I'm sure that there is a community for those individuals there. Widows, do they call them wizards? Widows and wizards?
Widows and widowers.
Widowers. Who's a wizard? No.
Widowers.
Oh, is it a? Oh, never mind. That's a whole different conversation.
Wizards, we need a little magic in our life.
So
I
widowers
love that.
and widowers. So building those communities, because I'm sure that even if you and your spouse were doing this, planning for a fulfilled future together, and then that all switches up on you, that has to be something else that is being navigated through, and being able to have those higher conversations early enough to come up with at least a plan. I never been in a real fire before, knock on wood, God please keep that from me. But a fire, like we do these fire drills just in case something happens. And I
Yes,
imagine that when a real fire does happen, that probably most of those things go out the window, but you hold on to some of those things so that everybody can get out the house safely or out the building safely. So having those types of conversations early enough, I see them as drills of some sort.
absolutely. Olivia said to give a plug to Sage, which shout out. I was talking about like AARP and all of that, but yes, Sage is specifically for LGBTQ plus elders. And while we're talking about them, shout out to Terry Wilder, who is the person that I know that works at Sage, and does Terry does a lot of work specifically for elders LGBTQ elders and also those with HIV, like they've been working on trying to get like a Bill of Rights passed for the way that folks living with HIV and LGBTQ folks should be treated when they find themselves in a long-term care facility. Because, like, let's be real, like a lot of aspects of other things, there's stigma that we may have to face in those types of environments, right? People who don't know what HIV is and what it is not, and people who are not familiar with um, or whose personal moral compass disagrees with being a member of the LGBTQ family. And so that's another thing to consider as you think about whether or not you want to be in a facility like that is, are they going to be welcoming of your quote unquote lifestyle? Are they going to be welcoming of our chronic health condition? And what does advocacy in those cases look like? And who's going to stand for you and advocate for you in those spaces? SAGE is one of the organizations that does that. And I want folks to think about it as, take your time finding things, but don't waste your time. We only have we have a finite amount of time available to us. We need to use it wisely. We don't have to stress thinking about it all of the time, but it is something that needs to be given serious consideration and that we do need to think about and prepare for. And yes, Olivia says she's pretty sure most SAGE programming encompasses people living with HIV, even if they're not LGBTQ identifying. You are correct. Yes, I'm quoting you because you are correct.
That is so great. That to know that these communities exist, and I know that I don't want to mess your name up, last name Amlek, but finding those communities for like those of us who are not quite at that threshold. So I don't know, some people consider aging like 50 and above. Other folks have other definitions for them. So, but finding that community of the in between. Because I know I'm not young anymore. The young kids make sure they let me know that I'm not. And then I'm not old by like community standards, societal standards, but this in between time where I want to do that prepping and planning, like, are there networks that exist for those of us that are like that, which I know would help contribute to feeling less lonely. I
Yeah.
don't know if I've come up with some, I'll make sure I share them. But I've used my friend groups right now. That's where my most of my support is coming in, where our ages range a little bit. So I have some folks that like are younger than me, and then I have some folks that are older than me, where I'm able to look at and like, okay, since this may be what you should be looking forward to, and I have the other sister who's like, okay, this is what you also should be looking forward to. Um,
Yeah.
'Cause things are changing quickly, quickly.
Yeah. The in between space is a hard space to be. I'm glad she brought that up. Like, for example, when I was diagnosed with HIV, I was diagnosed at 40. So I was older than the younger folks that I knew. I wasn't quite as old as folks that have been living with HIV for a long time. So where did I fit in? And then there's the whole, when do I get to be considered a long time survivor versus newly diagnosed? And, those are things that mean different things to different people, right? And I think what I learned is that sometimes when you're in the in between space, there's two things you can do. You can either pick your own lane and walk through that, or pick a side and force your way in. Um, and there's no wrong way to do it, right? If you identify or lean towards something, then make that space your own. Um, you know, being, I grew up in, I'm a 70s baby that grew up in the 80s. And it's just like I was talking about the AARP thing. Getting that AARP thing really offended me because I'm like, I'm too young for this. but I'm not. I'm really not. I feel like it on the on the inside, in my heart and my spirit. My knee knows it's time. My back is like, you better take that flyer and do something with it, right? But I still oftentimes feel in a different category and in an in between category. And so it's just picking a lane and deciding what works for you and making it work for you. So shout out to you. The Well Project has, again, resources that can help you find community. We have our A Girl Like Me blog, which is where A Girl Like Me Live comes from, that can help you find space. And so I would encourage you to reach out to us. Let us help you where we can.
And I might be offended when I start getting them joints too, but I can't wait. All of the discounts, I hope everybody looking up all the resources they qualify for it too. I know the supermarket by me on Tuesdays before like 10 o'clock, seniors get a 10% discount. I know that other folks allow senior, like AHA, there's a whole senior part of the menu that you got to
There
be
is.
over the order. I hope everyone is taking advantage of all those things because I can't wait. I can't wait. I
Mhm.
hope my knees still work then no, but I can't wait.
I love a good discount.
I know that we have seen the evaluation link go across the screen a couple of times. Seen that the Well Project does have a bunch of resources on aging positively. We have a whole program, Women Like Us, that is dedicated to programming for women who are living with and vulnerable to HIV, who are older, and we have a Facebook group under the same name, Women Aging Positively. So if you or anyone that you would know would benefit from that type of online community, please just hit one of us up, let us know so that you can get added to that space. And this, once again, has been another great conversation. And I know that I'm walking away with so many things from like, Daddy, you looked into this? We about to go look into so many things because while these strategies can definitely help women living with HIV age positively, it helps our community as well. I know that getting any of that stress off of my head is going to continue to allow me to age positively. This is
That
rough.
part.
This is rough.
Just a last couple of things. Get your screenings, get your healthcare screenings. Your lifestyle right now will impact your lifestyle as you're older. Um, Remember to take a whole person approach to your health and moving forward, mental, physical, and emotion, whole person. um, Plan ahead, start planning. It's never too late. Um, and move your body, exist in your body in a way that feels good. Um, and with this, that's what I forgot. I was going to say with the surveys, even if you're watching this on the recording, you missed the live and you're watching the recording, still take the survey. It still helps us out. I love talking to you. You're my friend and
I
you're
know.
wonderful and I appreciate you.
Hey, I feel the same way. Like it's just a girlfriend conversation, but I always learn so much and I appreciate it. You just don't even know. Thank you all for being here to experience this girlfriend conversation, also known as A Girl Like Me Live, where we talked about aging positively, planning for a fulfilling future. We can't wait to see you on episode 45, which will take place in July. And y'all all be well until then. Thank y'all. Bye.